Hey, it's JP on the Mixed Morning Grind. Very special guest joining us this morning. Olympic champion. You've heard her name tons over the last month or two, especially with the Olympics going on in Beijing. Bruderheim's own Emerance Maschmeyer. Emerance, how are you this morning?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm doing fantastic. Thanks so much for taking the time. Really appreciate it. I guess let's go all the way back to the start before we get to the whole meat and potatoes of the Olympics, because it's got to be a thrill for you. Growing up in Bruderheim, being a small town kid, I know that it was unbelievable to have a community that was tight knit, and knowing that your family is a big one, Bruderheim. How was that process growing up in Bruderheim, and especially on the hockey side of things?
Yeah, I mean, Bruderheim, that's definitely where my roots are. And that's where I started my hockey career. Like you said, I grew up in a big hockey family. So I have four siblings and we all grew up playing hockey. And that was kind of our religion growing up. You know, we were on the ice every single day and we had, the rink in town, now known as the Carol Maschmeyer Arena. And we had a rink at home in the yard at the farm. And that's all we lived and breathed hockey. So yeah, definitely my roots are back in Bruderheim for sure.
And now, talking to your dad, it wasn't always in goal for you. I mean, it was kind of by chance that this happened in the first place, right? You were an out player for quite a while.
Right. I mean, it definitely worked out that I did switch, but
Yeah, I'd
yeah,
say.
I started out skating at age 3, and then I played player full time until I was 7, and then I slowly started transitioning to goalie, and I think officially switched at age 10. Sounds like pretty official, even though I was only 3, 7, and 10. I'm talking about here.
Yeah. Well, it was kind of like he explained it as kind of like they just kind of needed somebody to play goal, and you ended up going into goal, and it turned out obviously to be your real forte.
Yeah, so I back in novice, you'd alternate in net, and I
Yeah.
remember it was my turn to go in net. So I was in net with player gear, and I told my parents after the game that I had fun in net, and that Christmas they thought it was pretty good too, I guess. But that
Yeah.
Christmas I got gear, and I was a pretty quiet kid, and I remember just being like, okay, I guess I'm a goalie now, like. I was up for it, and I think my siblings quite enjoyed that I was in net. They had someone to shoot on.
Well, no kidding, but I think that there's an allure around goaltenders, I think, because you're out there by yourself in that position, and it's just a different sort of way of looking at the game. You must have really gravitated towards that. What was it about being a goaltender that made you really enjoy it?
Yeah, like you're kind of a individual sport within a team
Mm.
sport, and yeah, I honestly I think I really gravitated towards. I loved performing under pressure and being able to be the difference maker in a game. I think that was something that I really loved from the start, is being able to make that big save or make kind of that turning point in a game and having that impact. So yeah, I would say all those things.
Yeah, for sure. So obviously you had some success early on, because even as a youngster, you got chosen on the brick team. And that's, a pretty big deal. And the funny thing is, and this is a connection that, again, your family made for us, because how else would we know unless we were there, that Matt Tompkins was the other goaltender for that team. You both ended up playing for Canada at the Olympics. I guess before we talk about, your experience in the lower levels of minor hockey, did you get to talk to Matt at all? Do you still talk to him? Did you run across paths with him at Beijing, or have you touched base ever since?
Yeah, I was able to hang out with him a little bit and kind of post tournament more so, but we had a few conversations, and honestly it was pretty crazy just having everything kind of come full circle. And we were reminiscing kind of back on the days that we played brick, and we also played a few years of spring hockey together afterwards. And
Okay.
it's just quite incredible to, if someone would have told us then where we would be today, like we would be shocked. So yeah, pretty awesome to get to spend that special moment with someone who I grew up playing hockey with, against, and also trained with even into our college years.
Right. So the funny thing is too, you think of all those like people watching at West Edmonton Mall all around like the outside of the Ice Palace, watching down, and like the two little kids playing there on the ice would be future Team Canada goalies. Like, who would have known, right?
Yeah, it is really crazy to think that, especially even the same Olympics too. Like, what are the
Oh, I
chances?
know. Yeah. Yeah, it is weird. So your minor hockey, going forward in that, obviously you would go on to play for Fort Saskatchewan, and you would be an all-star there. There's one person, I can't remember who it was, that put out a tweet where it was like talking about, all those female hockey players that were changing in janitor closets, playing with the boys for so many years through minor hockey, and how much things have changed, obviously. But looking back on those times for you, and I'm sure there was tons of them, it's got to make it a little extra special where you are today.
Yeah, I think it was Levi Lipka that
Okay.
tweeted that out. He was a coach that I had previously, I think for a couple of seasons back through minor hockey. But it was kind of funny to read that because I was like, that is so true. You kind of forget those, I guess those lower moments in minor hockey and throughout your career that you kind of have to go through. And, it just is what it is. You're like, okay, here we are, make the most of it. And, being a female playing in a male predominant league, I knew that would happen. And the path has been crazy. And now, I have it so easy, really. I really do. But it's pretty cool to think back at all those memories. Like I had, when I got to the Olympics, I remember talking to my mom and I was like, it's weird. I'm having these moments where I'm having all these flashbacks of my minor hockey career and everything that had to go right or things that had to happen to get to this point. So it's pretty crazy. Yeah. It's kind of becoming full circle. I feel like when you get to reach your goal, it just kind of, you start thinking of everything that came before.
Well, I guess, and it gives you, even more of an appreciation for what you have accomplished, because you did have to get through the grit to get to the gold, I guess, right?
For sure. Yeah. And I think you kind of forget about those moments, and it's easy to kind of, we kind of forget how good we have it now too. So when you can kind of think back to those moments where you had to really work for something, then it makes, this even more special.
For sure. Now, moving on to, the post minor hockey days and into college, there's a lot of colleges out there that folks sign with, local athletes sign with, the US and Canada. But to go to Harvard, Emerance, like that is probably the most well-known university in the entire world. What was that process like? Was there other schools interested? Why did you end up at Harvard? How was that decision made? And I guess what was the experience like? Because even off the ice, there had to be so many different things going through your mind coming from Bruderheim and going to the most prestigious university in the world.
That's definitely a tough question to sum up, but I'll try my best. So I guess my sister went to the States for university, and I am almost 6 years younger than her. So I kind of knew that that's the path that I wanted to go. So when I was 13, I had a spring hockey team that went to Boston to play in a tournament. And then part of the tournament was that each team got to tour Harvard. And at the time I was on a spring hockey team. So I got to see like the men's locker room and kind of the male side of things. But I remember at 13 years old, I was standing on the football field and I told my mom, like, I want to go here one day. And I'm 13, there's a lot of high school left. And she was like, okay, like, of course, being my mom, really supportive. She was like, just keep your grades up, keep working at hockey, and you'll make it one day. Yeah. I mean, now looking back, that's kind of a crazy thing to say to a 13-year-old, but yeah. Mom's always supportive. And so that was kind of what I had my eyes set on from that age on. And, there was a recruiting process and I did look at other schools, but I couldn't really deny that I wanted to go there. It was kind of just a matter of getting, the good grades and making sure everything lined up. Of course, you need to make sure that you're going to be going in and playing as well. There's, for goaltending, there's only a couple that get to play. So it had to also line up in terms of just timeline. And so, I mean, all the stars aligned and I got my opportunity to go play for Harvard, which is pretty incredible. And the experience, I mean, it's, I don't even know how to put it into words. Like, I absolutely love that school. It flew by. 4 years is way too quick. I love the team. Coach Stone is she had a huge impact on my career. And just like the environment being at Harvard, I can't really explain it, but it was really a dream come true.
Was it like imposing or nerve-wracking being there? Like, I would imagine it would be, or maybe it's not. I mean, I've never been, but I would assume just the aura of it would be kind of overwhelming.
Yeah, I think I remember like going to campus and I was like, am I going to fail out of school? Like I remember
that's what I would think. Exactly.
It was a genuine concern. And even just talking with other students, a lot of them were from out east. They went to these private schools. They knew that they were going to Harvard from whatever age, that was the
Right.
goal. They've been working on their, their SATs for X amount of years. And I'm like, wait, you've been taking AP Chem and all these things in high school. I'm like, that wasn't available where I went to school. Like I was like a small town. They
Yeah.
wouldn't even know where Bruderheim, Alberta is.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
yeah, I definitely had moments of, can I really do this? But I mean, I did it. So
Yeah.
it
So
was possible.
what did you take when you were there?
I took sociology and economics.
Oh, wow. So pretty, like, obviously a pretty intense course. Like there's a lot to dive into on the schoolwork side of things. How did you balance the two? Was it difficult to do?
Yeah, I think definitely, I mean, time management was something I really learned. But I think in high school, I had to deal with that a little bit too, just, playing hockey at night and having school during the day and then playing for Team Alberta, different camps. I started learning that, and I played junior hockey too the year before I left. So I think that really prepared me well for college. But yeah, I mean, it was difficult at times. And, my third year in college, I ended up joining the national team. So throughout the year, I had, my club team with Harvard, and then I had school and then camps throughout the year, and then would go for, like, in November, there was a tournament, the Four Nations Cup, and then World Championships at the end of the year after our season at Harvard. So now when I look back, I'm like, I really don't know how I did it all, but you kind of, figure out what's the priority today? What do I need to get done today? And kind of one foot in front of the next.
Now, you mentioned Team Canada in there, and that's what I want to get into next is how did you first realize you entered the sphere of Team Canada? Because it does seem like there's a point in which a player, specifically too on the women's side, where you kind of break through and you're in that system. When was the first time that you noticed that you were kind of in that and progressing into being a player that's not just trying out for a team, but is actually going to the World Junior Championships and the World Championships?
Right. Yeah, I think I was about 16 when I started realizing that, my dream actually could become a reality. To that point, I didn't really know what the process was going to be like. But then I represented Alberta at the Canada Winter Games. And fortunately, we won gold in that tournament. And I think that set me up really well to get scouted out by Team Canada for the U18s. And so my first year with the under 18 Team Canada was 2011. I could be wrong, but I think it's 2011 was when I had my first camp. And that's when I really realized, okay, like I am good enough to do this. And like, I was really focused from then on out. Sorry, what was your next question? And
well, it's just like knowing that you were going to move forward into a playing role with Team Canada, like going to the World Championships and going to the World Juniors, because it's one thing to try out and be on the radar, but to actually be, going forward, obviously there's a big commitment on your end.
Right. And I had a lot of success at the U18 level, which I think set me up really well. And I was fortunate, and the timing again was right, where I got into the senior team at a young age. And I don't think I realized it at the time that I was young, but now looking back, it's pretty rare to join the senior team at age 19. So I think just the timing, and with, the Olympics had just finished 2014. And then I came in right after that, where there were some open spots on the team. The timing was just right. And I think having early success really set me up. So I kind of knew from then on that this was going to be, my goal. And I've been very fortunate to have the opportunities that I've had.
I would imagine the first kind of time you break into international competition, it's got to be a little bit different because, like, we all grow up watching these Olympic games, Canada against the US, and we watch World Juniors at Christmas time and all these Team Canada moments. For you to kind of, be on a Team Canada, first of all, but even be recognized as one of Canada's best to go forward like that, is it just you were so caught up in the process that you didn't really put much emphasis on the fact of, what you were doing? Or is it one of those things where it's like you look at it and like, oh my God, I'm here. Like I've made it this far. Like so many people play hockey growing up, and you get to make that elite class and do the thing that you saw people do on TV for so many years.
I think a little bit of both. Like, I think there's been definite moments of like pinch me. Like, is this really
Yeah.
happening? And I remember like my first time putting on the jersey at U18s, just putting on the maple leaf. You know, you always dream of that moment, but then when you actually do it, it's like, wow, this is really happening. And honestly, that happened again when I was at the Olympics, just putting on the Olympic jersey and seeing the rings everywhere. It was like, okay, you know, when your dream becomes a reality, is this a dream or is it actually reality now?
Yeah.
But I think I also knew at a pretty young age, I had a big faith in myself that I would make it one day. And it was a matter of when. And I think, you know, maybe that was a little bit naive too, because who knows, you know, there's lots that can happen with sport, but I knew that if I gave it, you know, everything I could and focus on all the little details to get to that point, that I really believed that I would get there.
And you got to the Olympics. I mean, the Beijing Games, obviously very different than other Olympic Games in the past. From start to finish, I guess let's kind of start with this. Knowing that you were going to be on the Olympic team when that was first told to you, because you had played world championships and you're on that senior team, it was assumed that you would be part of it. But I'd imagine you're still getting the call confirming, hey, you're going to Beijing. What was that like?
Yeah, I mean, it's never really real. I feel like it wasn't even real until I actually got to Beijing. But yeah, I think until I got that phone call, I wasn't, you know, I just, it wasn't quite real. And that feeling was unlike any other feeling I could explain. Like this year, the 3 goalies were centralized. So I knew obviously there's a pretty good chance that I'd be going, but until they actually called and said, congratulations, I was like, wow, like I started crying and, you know, it wasn't even like I knew it was going to happen, but to hear those words, yeah, I can't
So
even explain the feeling.
who calls you, the coach?
Yeah, it was over Zoom, which is very, you know, of
Yeah.
the times.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it was all the coaching staff.
Very
Yeah.
cool. And so loading up and going to Beijing, did you guys all leave together from Canada, or did you kind of come from everywhere and you all landed there and kind of met in China?
Yeah, so we've been centralized in Calgary all season. So we had our world championships in July, and then we've been together as a team since. So we've been traveling around playing Finland, the US, and then some junior A guys teams in Alberta and BC. So we've been together all year. And then leading up to Beijing, we were in a hotel bubble, of course. So I think from January 12th till the Olympics, we were together in the hotel, and you know, with no contact of the outside, you know how it is right now. So yeah, we all left together to go to Beijing on January 26th or 27th, I believe.
So those like the athletes march and all of the, you know, the village and all these kind of things. What did you and what did you not get to experience at the Olympics?
It's hard for me to really say what I didn't get to experience because I have nothing to compare it to. Like it was my first Olympic Games, and I've had some people say, "Oh, it's too bad, you know, your first games are, you know, during a pandemic." And I'm like, I think it's actually the best scenario because I have no expectations. Like I have nothing to compare it to, and honestly, everything I was just so excited to experience absolutely everything. But we fortunately were able to go to the opening ceremonies, and because our sport is kind of throughout the entire games, we were able to go to the closing ceremonies as well. So we kind of got the full experience of the games. You know, some athletes come in and their event is only 1 or 2 days, so they have to be out within 48 hours of finishing their event. So we're very lucky with the experience that we got. But yeah, it's definitely different, like not having our families there to kind of celebrate with. I think that's the one thing that if I could change, I would have changed that. But honestly, the experience was incredible. We were still able to go see other sports when we had time off, hang out with our teammates. Obviously, the difference is wearing masks and kind of everything around COVID, but we're so used to that now.
So when you get the call that, and I guess it's not getting the call, I'm sure you're being told in person at this point, that you are going to be playing in one of these Olympic Games. You got 2 starts, I believe, throughout the tournament, correct? One in the preliminary and one in the playoffs.
Yeah.
You had a shutout in the playoffs. I mean, that had to have been incredible, but knowing that you're going to be in that game starting, did you know going in which games you were likely to play, or was it basically game day? Emerance, we're going with you today.
Yeah, so they would always tell us the day before, and that's kind of how we decided from the start of the year, before we even had our world championships, just to keep it consistent. They would let us goalies know just the day before at practice. So, which I actually quite like, because it kind of keeps you, thinking of just the near future and not looking so far ahead. But yeah, it was quite the experience when I got the nod that I had that game against Russia. And I don't know if you were watching, but we had a delay and we ended up delaying the game for about an hour because of COVID related
The
stuff. And then we had
mask
to
thing, and yeah.
wear masks. And I'm like, this is so funny. I've been waiting for this moment to play in my first Olympic Games for years and years and years. And this is the experience. And
Yeah.
honestly, it's like one that I will never forget, right? Like, it's who can say that they wore an N95 during their first Olympics, right?
Yeah,
Like, it's
no kidding.
crazy.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was quite the experience, and honestly, like, so much fun. Our group was an incredible group, like a team that I've never ever been on. Like, just such a fun group. And even when we got told the game was going to be delayed, like, we ended up doing like line dancing, and just like people were performing in the locker room. And I'm like, meanwhile, people were probably thinking we're freaking out in the locker room that our
Yeah.
game's delayed and all
Yeah.
these things. So yeah, pretty memorable first start for sure.
Well, that's the thing, is it did come across, and maybe it's the advent of social media and that sort of thing, but it does really seem like you guys have an incredible connection throughout the team. Maybe it's all the time you guys spend together compared to years past because of COVID, but you seem to all have a really great relationship, and that must make this even more special, getting the gold medal together.
Yeah, like, I've really never been part of a group this close. And I think it's cliche, we say, oh, it was such a great group, we're such a close team, but I genuinely mean that this time.
Yeah.
I feel like in the past you think your team's close, but like, leaving the Olympics, we were all like obviously excited to go home and share the gold medal with everyone, but we were so sad to leave each other. And we've been together for 8 months now, 9 months, and
Yeah.
almost every single day, and so that kind of just tells you right there, like, um, yeah, whether we won or lost, like, this group was such a success. And the environment that we were put in every single day, like, it set us up. So yeah, such an incredible group. We had a lot of fun.
Well, in every one of those games, I can tell you that the viewership here around the Heartland was huge. And especially in Bruderheim, we would see tweets that the town would put out of everybody around town wearing their Team Canada jerseys, the minor hockey kids cheering for you on videos. There was a massive amount of support from the area. What did that feel like on the other end?
Yeah, I mean, it was so cool to see the support, just to see how many people were watching, in Canada, but also in the small town of Bruderheim. I know they had viewing parties, and they put up signs. My dad put up fireworks one night, and
Yeah. Yeah.
it's just so cool to see, and it feels so good to have that support. And I think we all needed that too, because we weren't surrounded by our families and Canadian fans at the game. So to have that support from afar, it honestly felt like everyone was right there with us.
And then after the games coming home, what was that like? I'd imagine everybody wanted a piece of you, right?
Yeah, it's been such a whirlwind. Like, it feels like I've been back for a while now, but it's only been a week. But it's been, pretty awesome. I've had a lot, like, I've kind of designated my time mostly to my family, just to kind of share this moment with them. I wish that they were there with me, but
Mhm.
this is kind of the next best thing. And yeah, there's been so much support and so many people reaching out. Honestly, I've been overwhelmed with love and joy. So yeah, it's been a wild ride, and a little bit of a culture shock coming back here too. I'm not gonna
Sure.
lie.
Yeah, I would imagine. There's a lot
Yeah,
of differences between the two
yeah,
places.
exactly.
Yeah. So the gold medal, obviously, I think this is extra special too. And I think they should actually keep on doing this, if you ask me. You guys awarding each other the gold medals. I think that was a pretty cool thing to happen. But where is your gold medal now? Who's keeping a hold of it? Is it something that you carry around with you all the time? Did you put it in a safety deposit box? What's going on now?
Maybe I shouldn't be saying no. Yeah, honestly, I feel like as soon as I got that medal, I was like, how do I ever take this off or put this anywhere? Like, I
Right.
feel like I now have a little bit of paranoia about it. Like, I'll randomly
Mhm.
be like, where did I put it?
Yeah.
um, but yeah, I know I'm the caretaker of the gold medal, that's for sure. But I've been kind of sharing it with everyone. So it's been on me quite a bit the last week. Kind of
Yeah.
anyone else, yeah, I know that that's kind of, they're excited to see me, but they really want to see the gold medal.
Definitely, for
Yeah.
sure. Well, it's been incredible to see your journey progress, and I know that it's going to continue on. I know, or I would assume that there's no end in sight right now for you, Emerance. I mean, you're on a real hot streak. I would imagine that things will continue forward with you on the national team side of things. I was wondering too, because there's been a lot of talk about this, and it's kind of confusing the ins and outs of it sometimes with the ever-changing world of professional hockey on the women's side. But I'm kind of wondering from your perspective, what do you think is the best path forward for professional women's hockey so that it can hit that next step? Because I think obviously the desire is there for more of it on TV, more of it everywhere, because the viewership obviously was huge for Canada and the US. People are passionate about the sport. It seems like there are more and more people playing it. So what is the best path forward, do you think?
Yeah, I mean, it's hard for me to say like the ins and outs and like logistics that need to happen. But at the end of the day, we do need a league. We need a professional league, and one that is televised and one that has the funds to, be
Sustainable.
sustainable
Yeah.
for many years to
Yeah.
come, not just for a short period of time. And I think the thing right now is not rushing into creating a league just to have us play, because we're lucky that with Hockey Canada and even USA Hockey, we have the funds to continue to play and do camps, and with the PWHPA have showcases. And although not the most ideal situation, it's kind of what's best right now in order to make sure that we do, when we jump into having a league, that is sustainable. So yeah, I think first and foremost, like anything, we need the funds, and we need the TV contracts so that people can see us play. Like you said, the viewership was so high at the Olympics, and that's not a coincidence.
Mhm.
It's people, our fans are really loyal fans, and
Yeah.
I think anyone who watches the game for the first time, or maybe only a few times, they get pretty hooked quickly. So yeah, I think it's just a matter of time. I think we'll have a leak here shortly. I'm sure we're going to be getting some updates soon, especially with the momentum off the Olympics. But I think that's the most important, just having it sustainable and viable for us.
Absolutely. Emerance Maschmeyer, Olympic gold medalist from right here in the heartland, from Bruderheim. And I'll tell you, Emerance, you've inspired a whole lot of people. It has been an absolute pleasure to watch you perform over the last, well, it's been a number of years, I guess, at this point, that you've been with the national team. And we wish you all the success going forward. Thank you so much for taking the time today. And we hope you have an awesome time down in Calgary, again, training and playing hockey for Team Canada.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.